Hi everyone, I'm Mark, the founder of Universal Asylum. I guess I'm making this short video, or hopefully short video, in an attempt to stake my claim on various substances as an unsanctioned researcher, and I guess provide my professional perspective as a social worker, or recommendations as to what I believe the most appropriate pathways, in a real brief nutshell, should be in relation to exploring the profound benefits that these substances offer our species on a global scale. Okay, now as an unsanctioned researcher, to cut to the chase, over the last at least 7 years, I would imagine by now, I have been undertaking experimental research into the therapeutic value of a broad range of substances that have been used across many indigenous cultures, or that there is a great deal of evidence to support their use across all kinds of indigenous cultures across the globe and ancient civilizations, you know, many of which these substances are often considered sacred to various cultures, and you know, are referred to as psychedelics within contemporary society, or commonly. I believe that these many of these substances are wrongly classified as drugs, and would be more appropriately classified as nutrients. Specifically DMT. Now, the substances that I've undertaken therapeutic or experimental research into their therapeutic value. Now, this was initially inspired in attempting to treat severe post-traumatic stress disorder and complicated grief syndrome surrounding severe or associated with severe abuse surrounding the deaths of my father and an ex, and you know, my closest friend, as well as you know, severe psychological and social abuse, you know, basically being tormented and abused until my closest loved ones were dead throughout the last 6 months of my social work degree by a psychopath who, you know, who I rejected, and yeah, consequentially did everything she could to stomp all over everything I loved and destroy my reputation and career as a social worker. Now, this led me to the exploration of, you know, a range of substances, specifically DMT, which is used, is the main psychoactive compound in ayahuasca that's used in the, through South America, particularly throughout the Amazon jungle and tribes throughout there. However, is also an extremely commonly found substance throughout many plant forms globally, and was undoubtedly used by Indigenous Australians. It's found throughout many of our wattle species, which are used in their smoking ceremonies, and anyone familiar with the DMT, the effects of DMT, no doubt can see parallels with, you know, the Aboriginal dreaming, whatnot. Now, what I found very quickly at the time when I started administering, firstly, some of the substances that I've involved in my that I believe should be classified as nutrients rather than drugs, as they fit by definition within the parameters of their own class of nutrient that is specific in providing sustenance to the central nervous system. You know, this, which in turn facilitates basically, you know, a broad range of autoimmune responses. Now, it facilitates or increases the power and efficiency of the immune system by well over 10-fold. That is a very conservative estimate, and this is when consumed traditionally. Now, I believe that can very easily be doubled by IV administration of DMT, which has been proven safe in human trials by over, well, I'm not sure when Strassman did his work. However, you know, this substance has been proven safe in human trials. I can back up with, you know, in my experience, when I began consuming these substances, I coincidentally had been hit by a truck. I had a suspected ABI for over 2 years of persistent headaches, severe post-traumatic stress disorder. I was unable, like my back was frozen in spasm after being rear-ended by a stolen truck. Coincidentally, I mean, I went into this, I drew from my experience as a social worker and I guess my own journey of recovery and self-development, you know, as well as some of how these substances have been used traditionally, say in like ayahuasca retreats over in, say, Peru, how they're being used in rehabilitation. I'm also a recovering alcoholic addict. You know, and you know, all evidence was pointing these as having great potential as a treatment for PTSD, alcoholism, and mental health conditions. What I didn't expect was the profound physical benefits that I would be shown via these substances. Now, like I said before, these substances very clearly provide or act as very unique and powerful nutrients that provide sustenance to the whole central nervous system. Now, I do not profess to fully understand this. This is my basic most theory. You know, we know that when we have put people through CT scans on substances such as psilocybin, which is about the closest thing to DMT, and LSD, another very similar, you know, I guess different but quite similar in its effects and actions, that people's brains light up basically like a light globe. You know, all of those typically non-active areas, you know, it switches our brains on, which, you know, the experience can be quite overwhelming, particularly when you've got complex health conditions. I mean, my initial experiences with ayahuasca, you know, I went off and, you know, into the typically described, you know, spiritual type psychedelic realms. You know, however, coming out of those realms, it was almost as if an external force took over when I was coming back to physical consciousness. You know, like it was like something out of an Exorcist depiction where it felt like an external force began manipulating me into all of these weird contorted like positions. It was very controlled, very bizarre. Some people have talked about, in the psychedelic community, talk about people I've heard it talked about negatively, oh, who wants to go into spasms and be like, what I found happened was in the space, my first course of treatment, like similar to an ayahuasca rehabilitation program, I dosed, I think it was 10 doses of ayahuasca over the space of about a fortnight of intensive treatment. You know, inspired by rehabilitation facilities in, I think in Peru. I researched a number, as well as, you know, I guess insights from others who have explored these substances to a certain extent, such as Terence McKenna, and you know, and like I said, some of my own personal and professional insights in structuring my own therapeutic model in the space of, I think, 5 to 6 treatments. Yeah, it placed me in these contorted positions. I remember thinking, my body can't do this. Now, I've also trained, I'm also a dancer. I try to keep that non-professional. However, you know, I have trained full-time for 2 years. I've done the first year of a degree in contemporary dance at the Adelaide Centre of the Arts. God, years ago, before I'd done my social work degree. But you know, like after years of training dance, you know, I found I was put in positions that I am unable, like I can't fucking do. You know, I remember it being very bizarre and going, wow, you know, it was as if like, what I believe happened was that, like I said, they acted as nutrients which provided sustenance to the central nervous system, facilitating a hyperreparative state of conscious, which allowed me to subconsciously access intrinsic muscles in releasing and engaging those like specific intrinsic stabilizer muscle groups that are core muscles that I may not otherwise be able to consciously access with such precision. And you know, it was like it untangled all of the knots and sickness out of those muscle groups in completely realigning my entire musculoskeletal system in the space of 6 treatments. I knew instantly after, like, the threat that this poses. What does this pose? This poses a threat to fucking the chiropractic industry, the physiotherapy industry, as well as you know, massages. And it drastically fucking, I went from being completely frozen to the point like the physio had tried, I'm pretty sure he tried acupuncture, I know he tried cupping, and he tried physical manipulation, he tried a number of treatments. I'm sure he's got records of what he done to me, and he wasn't able to release my spine after this accident. In 6 treatments, I went from being frozen solid to I could fucking move again, you know, like it was incredible. You know, I was still completely fucking traumatized, you know, but then none of my circumstances had changed, you know, if I look at it in that sense. You know, I was still completely isolated. My reputation, after having had my reputation ruined, a lot of trauma, you know, associated with the deaths of my loved ones, and you know, like no community in a very, you know, with a world that's dying, and all these social pressures of quite a pretentious fake environment, and you know, no experience in, you know, how to find my place, and you know, a lot of, you know, stuff. But like, I instantly knew that this was not a drug. I went into this 1 year, I was just over 1 year sober, clean and sober, when I began administering my first doses of ayahuasca. I did a course of about 10 doses. Basically, I was on the verge of suicide. I went into this because like it was, I did it for my children. I had a duty as a father to, like, they were the only reason I was still alive in that, and I had a duty to them to explore the therapeutic value of what appeared to be extremely, all evidence was pointing to me was the most significant substances on the planet. Now, for someone who has years of addiction experience, which I will talk very openly about, now I'm scared about coming forward to the public about this. You know, basically the unsanctioned experimental research that I've conducted is highly illegal, or is illegal. However, I haven't been, ultimately what have I done? I have consumed a number of prohibited substances. Now look, if we want to go, I confess, I have in my lifetime, I have probably used enough fucking heroin to do at least half a dozen fucking life sentences or more. You know, like I have a 2-inch fucking scar in my arm. I have detoxed so many times. I'm very happy to speak openly, publicly about my journey through addiction into recovery. My father done something extremely unique, and that is a story I need to tell that may also help with my grief processes. But I believe is also likely to be of great value to how we approach the condition which I've watched kill and ruin many lives over the past 20 years or so. So yes, I am scared about coming forward about my unsanctioned research. I can back it, like even things with the way that it released. Hang on, go back forward. Since it took me a little while to notice, directly after, so I've worked with, basically I committed to myself because I wanted to die, that before I committed suicide, hang on a minute. Freaking washing machine. Basically I committed to myself that I would eat all of the forbidden fruits. Now these are obviously the original forbidden fruit. With my experience with these substances, these are the most valuable substances to our species, to the human species. They're also very significant to other animal species as well. The first prohibition was most likely, or is very obviously, the forbidden fruit in the Bible. These were taken away from our species. The fact that they still exist in the most remote, and there's evidence of them being considered sacred throughout all of our ancient civilizations. That forbidden fruit, those two words, is the most important words in that silly book that's caused so much trouble to our species, and continues to do so, and I'll probably get told off for saying it. However, my professional opinion as a social worker on religion is, I've done major critiques on religion and its role as a social, role in social control, and, I guess indoctrinating people into patriarchic values and stuff like that, or patriarchal, however the fuck you say. Turning us against our own human nature. But it was very obvious once early in my research into these substances that this was a forbidden fruit. This was taken away to make people easier to control. That some, I guess, at some point earlier on in my, I didn't notice, because first I worked with ayahuasca possibly after that first course of ayahuasca, you know, probably within that first month, I noticed that a headache that I had due to a suspected ABI that was, you know, I'd had a headache basically since I had a car accident and a couple of drug overdoses in a very short period of time, you know, a matter of a couple of weeks before I went to rehab, or a rehab in Melbourne. About, God, could be 8 years ago now, or maybe only 7. However, I had this headache for about 2 years. It felt like part of my brain was dead. It was a bizarre headache that just wouldn't go away. I'd been booked in for CT scans with a, you know, looking for a suspected acquired brain injury. However, I wish I'd had those. I wish I'd been able to get my shit together. You know, I was doing well. I'd been abstinent for over 12 months. However, I was walking around and basically it was like I was back in a house full of ghosts, traumatized. You know, I was doing all the right things as far as trying to eat healthy. I wasn't, you know, I'm alcoholic addict. I can't even drink coffee like a normal fucking person. You know, coffee and sugar are basically my last problematic substances. I gave up nicotine a bit over 12 months ago. And I'm over 5 years clean and sober, and that's from, you know, opiates, heroin, amphetamines. Alcohol has always been, I respond very differently to alcohol than most people. You know, I function very well on it in certain respects. You know, the thing is, I cannot control and moderate my consumption, and, you know, the fact that I, you know, whilst my health is sort of above a certain level, function well enough to drink a carton of beer and no one would even know. They'd think I'm on my first fucking drink, you know. And in effect, like, in reality, yeah, just getting started. That gave me an illusion of control. You know, for me, I have to be abstinent of most substances. So I guess for me to explore the therapeutic value of these substances, you know, which, you know, throughout my experimental research, I have self-administered DMT, large doses of DMT, in mescaline, psilocybin, ibogaine, salvia divinorum, or divinorum, however the fuck you say it. I don't even know how to say it. Like fly agaric mushrooms, mantia, you know, a broad range of other substances, probably others that I haven't put in, but I have self-administered well over 300 large therapeutic doses, like as in very large. You know, when I went into this, I was, I basically committed that I would try everything before killing myself, you know, for the sake of my children. You know, I was too traumatized by my, you know, and I was at the time that I started, I was, you know, clean and sober. I was going to AA and I was trying, and I couldn't get past the trauma, and I had like a little trail and I was eating well, but I had no one in my life that just, it was too much trauma and grief to function. So I committed to myself that I would try all of the most powerful substances in the world and try and explore their therapeutic value for the sake of my children. And if they didn't work on their own, that I would mix them together, which I have done at times. And you know, these are very big conversations. However, you know, eventually I also treated a suspected case of viral meningitis, which is a very interesting experience, in a matter which involved a headache, that symptoms that persisted for 2 months, until drinking 1 dose of fucking ayahuasca and clearing that headache in the matter of half an hour. The way it cleared it was it pushed it backwards and then downwards with these waves of frequency that also felt as if they were an external force. However, you know, like there's different theories. It's often talked to in spiritual realms with entities and all of that type of thing. You know, for anyone familiar or who isn't familiar with conversations associated with ayahuasca and other similar psychedelic compounds. However, you know, so however, if you look at, say, a viral infection like, say, meningitis as being a living entity, like sort of almost parasitic to a host, you know, like, I mean, it was an interesting experience. You know, a lot of people won't dose on the physical conditions where, and I think it's absolutely ludicrous how we test medicines on fucking well people. You know, I was extremely sick, and how sick I was when I took these medicines has helped provide invaluable insight into their fucking therapeutic value. Now, you know, these waves, it's frequent. So first I went into the typical beautiful, you know, DMT realm, you know, colourful, very elaborate, you know, state of consciousness. Then it closed into an extremely dark state where I was confronted by what I can only describe as gremlin's eggs. Green, slimy, it closed into the darkness, and they were obviously alive. And I told myself that I would trust the medicine and trust the plants. And it was scary. It looked like it was going to go into, let's say, like what people might consider a bad trip. I just allowed my consciousness to go into this infection, I suppose, or entity, upon which I was hit with waves of frequency that anyone who's ever felt like an earthquake rumble through a building, these come through like zzz, zzz. And you know, the headache had been somewhere in above my eyes for, you know, a couple of months, or in there somewhere, I don't know, really. But these waves of frequency started zzz, and they slowly ushered this headache backwards and then directed it downwards through to my lungs, and, you know, through which I expelled the infection through a small respiratory purge. I coughed. I was hoping to cough up a sample which I could get tested, and I was in bed. I wasn't able to, you know, go get a bucket. Didn't really know what to expect from the experience. I was just going to spit it on the mirror or something where I could take a sample when I was more able to function. However, these waves of frequency ushered the headache down, out, and a small respiratory purge. Within a matter of about a space of probably the whole process might have been an hour and a half. But sort of, you know, it had different stages. You know, I'd be guessing, but you know, the waves of frequency was possibly between 15 and 30 minutes. It's sort of a bit hard to gauge time with something like that. And then the experience was basically over. It used the energy to clear that infection. Now that fits with, you know, how one, like a very express, you know, I did say before, I believe, you know, it increases the power and efficiency of the immune system by 10-fold, at least conservatively. You know, this fits with how we might, say, expel other, you know, viral infections, colds, flu type, you know, viruses, where we have respiratory type purges with phlegm out the lungs and, you know, snotty noses and stuff like that. And it cleared the central nervous system of that infection. However, I still had post-traumatic stress disorder. It hadn't changed the fact that this beautiful fucking world is dying. I'm trapped in a, you know, really quite a awful cultural context. Although it could be much worse, but you know, I mean, we tend to fucking like neglect to acknowledge our own problems and throw off and not fucking, I don't know, another big story anyway, whatever. Like, now, it wasn't until there's a write-up on my website about the COVID-19 treatment. Now that treatment was DMT. I was pushing to have DMT tested as a treatment for COVID-19. Now I can back up, I can support, see I never, when COVID-19 come, you know, it was weird, I was all broken and I realised I was in love with this nurse and like 18 months back or whatever, and you know, I presented, like, I knew she could never love someone as broken as me, but it was important, like, because I, you know, I'm all feminist in my value, and I'm free loving hippie whore and think, you know, I always thought love, I didn't believe in really being in love, and I don't know where I stand on that, but, you know, I made up like a fucking, like a big fucking, like, hour-long video or whatever it's, and posted it on my Facebook freaking out because, like, she was, like, the one that got away, and she changed, like, losing her, say, like, fuck, I don't even know when, back in, like, 06, 07, you know, ended up serving as, like, the catalyst for the greatest change in my life and resulted in me doing my 4th step, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, like, I come back into and that resulted in the greatest change in my life and improvement upon all my relationships and stuff. But then, over the years, I've become, like, and then studying through social work, you know, I looked at relationships being like patriarchal institution, pretty unrealistic and unnatural, and you know, I really, and in ways sort of, maybe there's different types of love, you know, like I had many beautiful connections, very polygamous in my sort of relationships, you know, I connected with women and had beautiful meaning relationships with many women that I wasn't compatible with and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I guess I'd sort of come to the conclusion that love was how you treated people, like, you know, and that we were meant to be whores. However, then I've bumped into this, like, ex from the past, and, like, I needed to know, because she was always, like, the one that got away. And then I found out that, like, it was really bizarre. I was in love with her, and I'm like, oh, fuck, what do I do? Like, I'm in love with this amazing fucking woman, and I'm all fucked up, and you know, she was a nurse and shit. I needed her to know, like, these are the most valuable things. So I made up my beautiful little, like, I needed her to know that I loved her, and that it didn't matter that she probably never loved me, you know, like, so, like, made up from my heart was, you know, like, you know, I made, like, a beautiful little thing with the most powerful, the most valuable substances in the world, just like a symbolic sample, and, you know, some little bits of art, and like a rock that I felt was significant to me, but also fitted with, you know, it's just doesn't matter, it's personal, and some jewelry and others, like, you know, just stuff that was close to my heart, like, and tried to make it all beautiful, and I just needed that, like, I don't know. So yeah, anyway, I gave her these things, and then next minute, like, COVID come, and it looked like it was going to kill, like 30% of the population. I thought we were about to lose our parents, and she has this beautiful little boy with, like, an autoimmune condition and stuff like that, and, you know, I could see that, like, I knew that the only way if he got COVID was the best chance for keeping him alive was the plant medicines, and I wasn't, my gut told me that ayahuasca and DMT was his best chance. However, you know, with the MAOIs and, you know, his condition, I'd sort of, you know, I had to research, you know, I knew that was never my decision, but I needed his mother to be aware. So I researched, I made sure she was able to access, you know, all the things she would need if she needed to make that call ever. And I researched so hard, and I actually found scientific evidence to back up all of my theories from my work that support my fucking theory. I mean, they don't class it as a nutrient. I do believe these substances DMT and a number of other similar substances belong in their own class of nutrient. Now, it's very complex, the functions of these. I now have, basically I started studying this like a 4-year-old's fucking autoimmune condition against substances like DMT and viruses, and I come across a broad range of scientific evidence that basically supports strong medical science supporting DMT plays a huge role in supporting the autoimmune system, or what they class as or speak to as immunomodulation. It plays extremely powerful role, or it increases the power and efficiency of the autoimmune systems. In a generalised sense, you know, this shows great promise or potential for the treatment of generalised autoimmune conditions. The science I've also found, it shows that DMT and other similar substances have massive roles as what they say antiviral. Now, I am not sure how, like, the full definition of antiviral. To me, if you look at a substance being, say, antibacterial, which, like, say, like, where the substance kills, say, if, I don't know, say, like an alcohol-based substance that kills a bacteria or something like that, you know, where the substance kills the... See, to me, they are not antiviral in the sense, like, I don't believe the DMT kills the virus as such. What I believe is happening is the DMT is acting as an extremely unique and powerful nutrient specific to the central nervous system that facilitates a broad range of fucking autoimmune regulation, including regulation of inflammatory systems, cellular proliferation, all of which I can back up, that also facilitate anti-cancer, antiviral and anti-tumour actions. Now, if I am correct, I know that I am correct in what I am saying, and that these substances not only offer huge, like massive value therapeutically in a medical sense to assist with this will revolutionise medical fucking treatment and needs immediate fucking attention from our species. Now look, I've spent rewind. These do require immediate attention. These are the most powerful and the most valuable substances on this fucking planet. Straight out. However, long term, these do not belong. These are too significant to our species. Now, I struggle with the term like cultural appropriation. You know, yes, these substances were used by various cultures. I don't even know what my culture is. My fucking greatest or longest term ancestor was, our family legend was that we were related to Alison Nutter, who was one of the Lancashire witches hung in Lancashire several hundred years ago. It might be 400. I have researched absolutely crazy, the trials, and I have through Ancestry.com so far traced our genetics back to Lancashire. So there is possibly truth in that. There's also a documented history of substance use throughout at least the last couple of generations. You know, my father was caught importing heroin and robbed the drug squad and somehow fucking survived all of that when the police tried to get him to fit up, whatever, a big long fucking story. Somehow managed, no one got fucking killed, no one went to jail except for him. I don't know how the fuck he lucky survived that. And that was back when, like, fucking Roger Rogerson was running the show and fucking knocking cunts left, right and centre, you know, like, yeah. My old man was an interesting character, but yeah, so is it my culture? I have massive documented, and yeah, he also has massive documented history, you know, with a broad range of substances, so do I. Now, on my personal and professional opinion as a social worker is these substances should belong to everyone. I am recommending that these substances be handed over to the care and protection of Universal Asylum, and as a charitable non-government organisation owned by the people to serve the best interests of the people. Now, long term, I believe, with my experience with these substances, is that long term they should be integrated into society. For, say, in tribal uses, these type ayahuasca is often used as a weekly cleansing. You know, with the science that I've got backing up its, you know, potential as an anti-cancer, this will not, you know, this is not something that will treat stage 4 fucking cancer. Yes, it might help someone deal with, you know, it still would benefit them, but, you know, for this to work, this is better used as a weekly cleanse at a cellular level in, or as a, you know, basically as a preventative. You know, it's something that traditionally was used once a week, or more, depending how things are required. Now, a lot of the psychedelic, I've been involved in the psychedelic community for a number of years now. I've been watching what's going on, observing there is a bit of a crossover with, you know, people, because these substances do offer a great deal of potential in addiction treatment and whatnot. There is a crossover, but a lot of people who end up using these plants, medicines, do steer away from drugs, which does present complexities around the research of these substances. Now, the cat is out of the bag very much. However, a lot of people are looking at these in terms of psychological therapeutic value and stuff like that. There are some who do see the physical benefits. However, I often get people who are less experienced shoot down some ideas, even though I can back up a lot of, well, basically everything I'm saying with hardcore medical science that has come out of Hungary within the last few years. Now, I do believe that this, you know, these, like I've said, they are the most valuable substances on the planet, and that they need to be handed over, they don't belong to any one person, and this is something that needs to be studied hardcore intensively, all hands on deck, for one entity, owned by the people, for the people. You know, yes, I am sort of trying to claim ownership for my work and my fucking theory, and some recognition would be nice. However, I don't believe one person should own any of these, and I believe most people, anyone with half a brain who is, or anyone with pure intentions who is looking into these substances would agree. These substances do have the potential to revolutionise the way we see medicine and the way we treat a broad range of conditions. They do have many medical applications. However, I do not believe that they should be restricted to medical arbitration. This would be drastically selling short the value that these offer our species. These are actually the first substances I was skeptical, like with my history of addiction, to go into exploring the therapeutic. I was like, yeah, but you don't know me. They're not addictive. These are the only substances that I can actually brew up and leave in the fridge for a fucking week and have it when I'm ready. You know, they are the only thing that I don't have to perpetually use. They are safe. You know, I'm not going to say there aren't specific, or, you know, there aren't some dangers with these. The biggest dangers is mixing them with the wrong medicines. We cannot, the cat is out of the bag, we cannot, a prohibition approach will be disastrous. It will not work. These substances are too widely distributed. If governments try to go prohibition on this one, they are too widely distributed across such a great range of flora that if authorities try to go prohibition approaches on these substances, you will be risking the extinction of many native plants across the fucking world. Also, we will have the same ongoing problems that we've had. These are something that we need to look at very seriously, very fast. We don't have time to waste, and we need all the people, the knowledge going into the one sort of central place. Now, as the most valuable substance in the world, I believe, the fact that they are essential to everyone. And look, these take courage. It's not like if you made these fucking legal, the amount of courage, I needed to be on the verge of death to drink fucking ayahuasca. The amount of times I've done well over 300 fucking doses. I've documented a lot of my experience with these substances. However, this is not going to cause, we've had some idiots, from what I've heard in the media, particularly lawyers, trying to get people out of stuff, will take a substance that's very mysterious and try and, blame that for people's bad behaviour. I did, through using these substances, I come to a point where I had to stand up to my abusers. Didn't tell me to do that in a nasty way. I've stood up and, what are you going to do? Throw me in jail because I ate some plants, because some fucking psychopathic fucking mental case fucking fugly fucking bitch set me up, made me beg for my belongings back, dumps me for the guy with the ugly dick, runs back, makes me promise not to hook up with anyone on the dance scene, like she was a year behind in my social work degrees, right, sets me up. You've got to promise not to hook up with anyone on the dance scene, working for one of the biggest Adelaide dance companies, dumps me for a dance partner, runs back, tells me how huge my fucking cock is, fucking keeps running back telling me she loves me, making me beg for my belongings back. I finally found out when I stood up to the dance school. Then my father dies, whilst I'm desperately trying to fucking save my father's life throughout the last 6 months of my degree. Then my dad dies, then manipulates me into fucking sending him home. Then when I find him dead, screams in my face that your dad dying is the best thing that ever fucking happens to you. To the point where then I find out through sticking up to him that she was running around telling people, he's obsessed with me, to destroy my fucking reputation within the dance community, which was a passion that I fucking loved enough to study 2 years full fucking time. Destroy me. It was sexual abuse. I didn't, at that stage, I totally was all for polygamy, with my feminist values on, I guess westernised social structures and whatnot. Destroy my career as a social worker. Because I didn't want to be with a fucking selfish, fucking dishonest. I had no idea that I was being set up. I didn't know I was with a psychopath. I didn't know she fucking hated me. Fucking uses the deaths of my loved ones as fucking weapons, runs around till I'm so fucking traumatised, like 3 deaths in 3 months, and then have some go out to have a dance and have some fucking fugly fucking cunt scream in the face how good by then I was blaming myself for her abuse, like I deserved it. It was bullshit, and I was so a lot of guilt and a lot of, so yeah, I ate all these fucking plants, throw me in fucking jail, maybe they'll stab me, they'll call me a fucking dog, because I stood up and I've said the dance industry needs to be fucking regulated. It fucking does. You know, it's I've watched it evolve for the last fucking 16 years. It used to be a healthier community. It used to be a lot like what I'm looking at as a leaderless system of governance. Now that's what I believe. These substances need to go into an organisation that has big goals, which is actually something that I would have never found these substances without this abuse with my, addiction history. I just needed to finish my degree. I had a perfect reputation, I was basically, the first thing they told me throughout my degree was, they pointed out the problems with our ageing population and the health crisis that we were approaching rapidly, rapidly approaching. And these substances, it's so difficult, like at the moment, my cousin just had his fucking toes cut off. I've got like a close friend with she's got a beautiful little baby who's been born with, forget the name, it's like smooth brain. The brain isn't developed properly and like he's probably going to die. And I've got hardcore scientific evidence backing up, like, what's the title of it? DMT, a biochemical Swiss Army knife in neuroprotection and neuroregeneration, or neuroinflammation, neuroprotection, but it goes into the neuroregenerative functions of DMT. I know this child's best chance is for them to hook it up with IV DMT, in conjunction with broad spectrum nutrients and minerals, to basically allow his system to right itself, and he might survive. Like, for me, that would be the best bet. Obviously that's something that would, need like major medical considerations, because there's a lot I don't know about his condition. But, I know enough to suggest to doctors to actually look at the science and, I guess, consider that, how that may be used in saving this little boy's life. I know this substance, has, some of the science I've got, talks about its role in cellular proliferation and whatnot. And I get, through questioning some of the physical benefits of these substances within the psychedelic community, both online. I've attended a couple of the EGA, Ethnogenesis Australis, I think. Like camps and events, for research over the years, and more so my involvement in the psychedelic community. I get shot down when I mention using things, these substances for physical healing. A lot of people just, because they want to have a little bit once and have an epiphany, and only take it once and have an epiphany and then know all the world's problems or whatever. I mean, I shouldn't, we've all got to start somewhere, but like, I come into this in such a sick physical health, and it's like, I nearly died in a motorbike accident recently, so I poured ayahuasca on top of, I smashed my collarbone into like 3 main pieces. Anyway, I had ayahuasca on top of it to see if it would heal. Very interesting experience. Very scary, because you go like, it increases your awareness. And it's like, fuck, is that gonna, I've got to smashed bone in my fucking, like, is that going to like increase the pain? But like increasing the awareness doesn't necessarily increase the pain. Like normally when you consume these substances, you know, as they come on, there'll be an initial half an hour where you become quite uncomfortable, and it's like you're aware of every ache and pain in your body, and it's sort of almost like an assessment phase as they kick in. But then once they start to do their fucking work, like you're not in as much pain, but I could feel the energy going in to the wound. Like, it's funny, like, because like, now I'm stuck with this broken bone that won't heal, but like, not everything's what it seems. What I believe's happened is, like, if I look at the x-ray, the way the bone's broken, I've healed the middle section, not only on an angle, but twisted. So it's healed like that. Or it might be twisted the other direction, I'm not sure, but sort of bit spiraled, but healed, and I felt that heal. I felt the healing, and then I had trouble getting others, because long story, a couple of fucking bitches down south, like, yeah, you know, like, because basically the story I didn't finish, you know, like with the, you know, basically, once I found the medical science, you know, basically I begged this woman that I loved to infect me with COVID if she got it, so I could show her how to use the plants. I just thought, you know, this is her, I had to get her the most the strongest science to back up what I was saying. All I could do was make sure she had access, and you know, give her every bit of knowledge that I could, give her the best science possible, and I begged her to infect me with COVID if she got it, so I could show her how it worked. I didn't even want to survive COVID, you know, really. I was still traumatised and in pain, and it actually gave me something to live. I was actually in the process standing up to these dance schools. I was planning on, I was going to hang myself out the front of the dance studio to make sure they never do what they did to me again. I didn't want to live because I'd tried all the medicines and I was still traumatised. And I was like all defeated because I was like in love with someone I was never going to be good with, good enough for. Who ended up, I don't know, I'm fucking not very happy with her because I think she took all my fucking research to the fucking police, the fucking idiot. Went running to my fucking ex, who I rejected. So what, you've gone running to the person most likely to throw me under the fucking bus? Yeah, fucking real fucking smart. Like, I actually, I don't know, maybe I did have her on a pedestal. I still haven't worked out this whole fucking, like, love shit. It's fucking retarded. You know, maybe I'm better off just being a fucking whore for the rest of my life, I don't know. But, you know, and I get, in some ways, yeah, it might have been a bit scary. But, like, basically, so I found the most hardcore fucking medical science and made sure she had it. Tried to make her promise to fucking infect me, because I thought if she could see the medicine work, maybe she would try it for herself and have, like, the science. If she read the science, watched it fucking work, then tried it for herself, she might be in a position. I just couldn't bear the thought of her losing her little boy. And then she ended up like, then after I found the medical science, I realised there might be just enough time to get it tested, and like maybe if I got it, because at first it just looked like COVID was gonna like wipe out our families, and so I tried to like, you know, I studied for like a month, and I found all the science that said it acts as an antiviral, anti-cancer, anti-tumour, that it plays massive roles in autoimmune function, which I only found because of her beautiful little boy. And because like the worst thing I could think of was, you know, like, so anyway, like that's how I found the science that backed up, you know, everything that I've said and every theory that I had through my experimental research. You know, everything that it backed it up. And then once I had that science after a while, and then it looked like we were going to get it in control in Australia, I'm like, right, there, we've got enough time to get this fucking tested. You know, and how I would have used it to immunise, I mentioned that in my little right up on, or, you know, I didn't state what it was, because what happened to the toilet paper? You know, I didn't want everyone to be out running around fucking tearing up our native flora and shit. You know, most people won't. I actually believe most people won't. However, there are a lot of people trying these substances who don't necessarily have the morals and don't have the patience, and maybe are too desperate to wait for things to grow. However, we can produce these ethically. So I did not disclose what it was, basically because of what happened to the toilet paper. Also, due to the fact that it hasn't been tested yet. Now, this needs to be tested. You know, what I'm saying can be supported with the medical science. I don't believe most people, I know how much courage it takes to do these things, and they're not something that, you know, I don't believe it'll cause a mass, you know, me coming out with this is going to cause any mass influx at all. People are already, you know, there is already a massive wave of people experimenting with these substances for different reasons. Eventually enough people are going to work out their physical benefits. I don't believe these should be restricted to the medical industry. I do believe, and I do believe most people will agree with that. I also believe in terms of cultural appropriation, these substances are, there is enough evidence to link these substances to so many different cultures and to our species, that all of which the native cultures don't necessarily believe in white concepts such as ownership, and most of whom I would like to believe would share my belief systems that these substances belong to everyone. They are as sacred and essential to human health and well-being as substances like water, which should be freely available to all. In putting, you know, I guess elsewhere in this segment, you know, by putting these, what are the most valuable substances into the care and protection of the one organisation, which I'm trying to found Universal Asylum. This is something I've been working on for the last decade or more, since 2007, due to trying to figure out how we can save our ageing population and the global health crisis. Like I will touch upon, yes, Universal Asylum is long-term aimed at, is a non-government organisation, or intended to become a non-government organisation owned by the people and run by the people, with the intention of eventually facilitating the transition into a one world leaderless form of governance, with some very ambitious goals in reforming all of our socio-economic, socio-political, legal, all of our systems, as well as the preservation, so basically protecting our species from one another, as well as protecting our environment from our species. You know, this is necessary. If we are a one world governance, system of governance is necessary if we are to avoid World War III. You know, I don't need a fucking university degree to know that every country just increasing their fucking weapons arsenal, where that's going to fucking eventually end. You know, and it's, you know, what we need everyone on the same page so we can slowly look at putting our fucking guns down and how we are to dismantle world military systems and world defence systems. This is I'm willing to dedicate my life, my sentence for, you know, I'm trying to legitimise my fucking work this requires massive special permits, which I actually thought may be possible to actually get signed. This isn't something that needs years, like decades of fucking around. We have reached fucking a critical point in history with our fucking species. We need to change our fucking whole systems. We need to get on the same page globally. We need to automate a lot of our systems. You know, if we are to look after our elderly, we don't only need the best quality fucking medical or nutrition, we need the human capital. You know what, 15 years ago nearly, you know, when I started university, I was told in 20 to 30 years, depending, probably different areas, different factors, that everyone will either be the elderly or employed looking after the elderly, which is fucking, it's physically impossible. You know, that is collapse of our entire health system, our entire socio-economic system. You know, one of the things that comes with a ageing population is a population that's not conditioned to death. You know, Nana and Grandpa, they were more conditioned to death. They're actually going to probably pass on before the health crisis. It'll be more Mum Wally's generation, sort of. You know, basically superannuation's going to be worthless. It is. It's a massive con. You know, this is like the elephant in the room no one's talking about. You know, like it gets to a point where it doesn't matter how much super you got. If there isn't enough people to provide the fucking services, money becomes fucking irrelevant. We need to be automating fucking society. We don't need our political systems. They are bullshit. We don't need these fucking toxic leadership systems full of fucking liars, full of fear. You know, we've got, you know, political systems that have ignored fucking science over and over again, like for decades. Like prohibition is the most reckless and irresponsible policy on the fucking planet. You know, this prohibition is the cause from the lack of safety for most substances and also things like health and safety for those who use the substances, but also, you know, crime from someone robbing the old lady at the ATM through to international fucking crime syndicates fucking large enough to fund fucking armies. You know, all by hanging on to a policy that doesn't fucking work, that makes the world a more dangerous place for fucking everyone. You know, and like blanket terms of drugs, you know, you've got substances. If really we now have the technology that we can automate our political systems. Now this is big complex stuff that I need a big fucking team. You know, it's all what, you know, I've got a million ideas trying to put in a nutshell what I spent 4 years fucking hard studying just to have my life fucking destroyed, you know, and my reputation destroyed and left in a position where I'm completely fucking on. Well, that's crazy, you know, yeah, fucking, you know, if we want to clean, anyone watch Seaspiracy? My solution, we need a one world fucking governance. We need reform of our entire fucking global markets. Is the only way we're going to clean up the fucking ocean. Right? You know what I want to see? I want to see that fucking mess cleaned up. We need to stop fucking making the mess, but we need to fucking clean it up. You know, we've got all this bullshit. We want to put it back on the individual fucking, or the 7 billion people having a coffee. We are overworking people. We need to take the pressure off the people. We can transition to, you know, people don't have time to have fucking coffee. We don't give them time. Fucking, and the whole fucking matrix just has, oh, get a job, work. We're all fucking, creating jobs is fucking stupid. Absolutely fucking stupid. You know, yeah, yes. You know, if you were to automate a lot of these things, this medicine has, or these food substances, this nutrient, which has a lot of complications. I've been working with it for a long time, and it's not a fucking simple thing. It is a big process to integrate this into society to its greatest potential, and to explore all of how to go about that. Big fucking process. And a lot of complex consideration, and, you know, I've worked with numerous substances, all of which need to be considered individually, as they have their own, I guess, pros and cons and working parameters, you know, in different contexts. However, you know, I'm not some greedy fucking person. I want to see world peace. It's what I want to fucking see. You know, I want to see clean oceans. You know, I want to see a fucking more fair and just society. You know how this has a potential, by doing this has a potential to help fucking the third world countries. You know, we need that for one world governance. You know, instead we've got a system where we've got these, you know, everyone is very unwell, and our systems back people into fucking corners. Fucking, you know, we're burning our populations out. We do need to change the whole system. It is the only hope for our species. You know, and everyone we fucking, you know, you and I have ever fucking loved and cared about. You know, you know, and there is, as far as, you know, some people might think I'm insane to suggest a leaderless form of governance, system of governance. That is, you know, and I guess in many ways run by artificial intelligence. You know, we can use our algorithmic technology in data collection and the alteration of old. We've got a lot of old legislation. We're running a 2000, the same fucking political structure that was established 2,000 years ago that led to the collapse of the fucking Roman Empire, for fuck's sake. It's fucking, you know, it's just a fucking bullshit competition that keeps the fucking weak in fucking power to the disadvantage of everyone. You know, basically, what are we working towards as a fucking species? You know, to what? Fucking the human race to destroy the planet. Let's see who can destroy the fucking planet faster. Like, yeah, it's, I mean, I've got a lot of different ideas that I won't go into. You know, it requires reform of all systems. Our education system, we do need to look at, you know, rather than training people to conform, we need to be training people to think. We really do. You know, what I'm looking at is very much a bottom-up system of governance that, you know, allows for greater freedom and rights, and but also fairness and equality. You know, but quality, and like a lot of like stuff that I fucking like people arguing for equality. It's like they might as well change it to like equal shitty. It's like they want to make it equally shit for fucking everyone. You know, like, and they've done it like, you know, I don't. There's been a lot of positive changes as a result of, you know, feminist efforts, but I don't know that they've always gone quite to plan. But they're big conversations. You know, I think, you know, in ways it's, you know, we've forgotten the important roles that women did fucking play in society. You know, in a breadwinner model. It's not to say, you know, I think that's been just as much of an insult to women. You know, it's like with them entering the workforce, we've forgotten what they actually used to do. And, you know, I think by rights, you know, a 40-hour week was based on a fucking breadwinner wage, for fuck's sake. With a woman doing a lot of shit at home. You know, yeah, women entering the workforce, well, why weren't hours changed? How come hours weren't halved and men fucking encouraged to take up that fucking, those roles that were once traditionally female? A lot of fucking complexities to all that shit. But, you know, my point is now everyone's fucking overworked. Fucking none of the important shit women used to do is fucking done. Mum and dad come home, they're fucking burnt out. Fucking we leave the kids in the care of some fucking 20-year-old who's been taught to conform, that's trying to teach them to fucking conform.
and then when shit goes wrong with the kids, we'll blame the fucking parents, whatever. Like, you know, and then we'll blame everyone because they're so overrun off their fucking feet, they use a disposable fucking coffee cup because they don't get time to sit down and use a fucking porcelain cup. Like, we just work. Like, you know, it's very difficult stuff. I mean, with our ageing population, we're not going to be the services to care for our elderly. We're going to have to take that on collectively. And you need people to be in their best condition to do that. And going back to their best condition, you know, thinking of best condition, you know, what I was, you know, I said that I'd formulated I guess a potential substitute to building immunity, or substitute to vaccination in building immunity against, say, COVID-19. Now, that was basically my idea was, you know, to me how I would do it, and I was willing to volunteer, would be to use these plant medicines to bring an individual to peak health. So dose myself or feed myself with complex vitamins and minerals, as well as these substances, to reset my system back to its peak, then expose myself, so basically like an exposure therapy, to the live virus, then dose myself with DMT, so that to increase the power and efficiency of the immune system in overcoming the virus and building the necessary antibodies or whatever for immunity, which would work in a generic sense against, in theory, against all 42 fucking strains, rather than having fucking vaccines. And not to say, like, you know, there is possible, like this, I believe, will work on most fucking people. It's not to say there is no room for vaccine, but at the time we didn't have a vaccine, we didn't have fucking time. You know? However, this has the potential to basically drastically reduce our need for those things, which then frees up resources. You know, also jobs like massaging, jobs like chiropractic work. If you can use these substances where someone doses themselves, rolls around in a bed while their fucking body fucking sorts itself out, you know, like, I know lots of massage therapists. You know how fucking hard that work is and how sore their bodies is? You know? The thing is, you know, it becomes difficult because this stuff has the potential to put a lot of people out of work, but that's okay. I mean, we need to look at economic systems that are more, you know, creating work is fucking stupid. We need to be working towards a more efficient society, you know. You know, that will free up the resources so we can take care of ourselves and one another, so we're not perpetuating sickness. You know, and we do very much do that, our fucking whole economic system. We need a fair way of distributing, and I mean, I looked at ways of stratifying employment, you know, throughout trying to, you know, I guess, formulate an alternate socio-economic sort of model, you know, which incorporates things like, you know, ongoing education for all as a component of, you know, income. You know, I believe everyone should be able to survive on a single income. We need to move away from breadwinner fucking model. You know, simple. Everyone needs to be able to actually support their own living in a safe environment. You know, you shouldn't have to choose between a relationship and fucking poverty. however also stratifying our income. So basically everyone's on the, sort of a form of welfare, so to speak. Like everyone, it is in our interest for everyone. You shouldn't, education shouldn't be something that is based upon affordability. We can't afford as a species to have fucking uneducated people, fuck's sake. You know, what we need is we need ongoing education, and you know, by stratifying, we also don't need people burning out doing one fucking job. I do believe we probably need tiers of employment that might involve community participation. And, you know, these need to be quite flexible because we all have different qualities and different, you know, limitations, stuff like that. Stuff that needs massive thought put into, you know. However, you know, if we've got a substance that has the potential to put so many people out of work, you know, yet it drastically increase the health and efficiency, you know, we are at a point of technological advancement where we can start transitioning into an automated system of automated fucking systems across the fucking board, and that does need to include governance. That does need to include, you know, a lot of our manual labour and stuff like that, which has, you know, it does give us the potential to possibly support our ageing population. We also need to look at how we can humanely reduce the population. And now, yeah, I'm risking saying that. We fucking do. If we want, we have relied on borrowing from the future with fucking population growth for too fucking long. It doesn't work. It is fucking just compound interest, drawing away from the fucking future. What we need to do is slow down and allow people to die fucking naturally. Otherwise we're heading, if we keep going down the path, and they never mentioned it at fucking uni, the fucking G word, genocide, because that is the most likely fucking government solution. It's not like it'd be the first time in history. You know, what do? Like, we are approaching a massive health crisis. Oh, we wouldn't put it past me for governments to fucking, yeah, it's an easy solution. We've got a dying fucking world. Imagine these governments come through and wipe out 90% of the population. Who are they going to choose? Are they going to choose the ones who can't? Who gets to live? The ones who can think or the ones who can't think? Do they want little followers? Or do we want people who can think? We need a bottom-up fucking approach if we're going to avoid... That is, you know, there are people in the world who have way too much power, who probably do believe, like, the most... I have no doubt. You know, you've got... What we've probably got, every country thinks they're the one that should own the fucking world and are willing to wipe the rest of it out so they can fucking... That's fucking madness. You need to slow the fuck down. Allow people to slowly fucking die off. You know, and reduce population that way. You know, and allow it to back off, but also or at least cease fucking expanding or cease increasing, you know, like, you know, even with the amount of people that we have got on this planet, you know, like, if we were to bring it back, pull it back, so that we just sustain the amount of population that we have, we're still in trouble. We are still in trouble. Unless we can pull the whole world on the one page. I mean, what? Fucking... You know, Terence McKenna, culture is not your friend. Now, I believe we need to look... I believe it's possible to make a culture that's our friend, but I believe we need to be culturally critical. We need to be critical of all culture. But first, to start off, we've got to be critical of their own. Now, I've been thrown in time out, beaten with fucking sticks, all that shit, because I rejected my culture from the fucking start. You know, like, a big long story that I think I need to tell, like, you know, maybe you know, I think there's valuable stuff that could help, you know, and maybe it doesn't, you know, might help with my grief. There might be some valuable insights there, might help with like people understanding how I come to the conclusions of where the fuck I am and what I'm trying to do. You know, how my value systems have developed. You know, I don't want control of the world. I'm trying to build something that takes control off the wrong people and fucking sets everyone free. And I'm really fucking scared. I'm really scared of fucking coming forward and go like, well, I spent 4 years doing a degree trying to help people. And what, because I won't pretend? You know, I come forward and tell everyone about like the research. I'm scared I'm going to go to jail. I'm scared I'm going to get fucking, maybe you get stabbed. Maybe you can fucking hang me like you did Auntie Alice. You fucking cunts. You know, that's what I believe. These substances, my professional opinion as a social worker, as someone who has a fucking massive knowledge about fucking substances. Yeah, you know what I got in exchange for trying to get a fucking treatment tested for COVID? I got thrown in a fucking mental institute. I wouldn't tell them what it was. I'm like, because I wanted it signed over. I wanted the rights, the patent signed over to me, and then 51% signed over to Universal Asylum as a non-government organisation, so it wouldn't be owned by me. But I needed them signed over to me first. I don't know how it works. I've been on like disability for over 20 years. Like getting a degree was a big thing. You know, I'm scared that I'm gonna lose my life's work. You know, like maybe some greedy cunt can get it and they can make money and they can sit on their pile of money while the fucking world dies. You know? Yeah, so they put me in a mental institute and said I was delusional because I refused. They're like, oh, so tell me about your treatment. I'm like, I'm unwilling to disclose the nature of my treatment for COVID-19 until, you know, I've had the rights to my academic material signed over and secured, which I feel would be reasonable. As a social worker, I feel is a reasonable request. Oh, you're delusional. And then they're like, oh, so tell me what makes you think you've got the magical powers? What? It was fucking scary. I was locked up and they're shoving fucking needles in me, giving me all these fucking pills that made me put on fucking 10 fucking kilos, trying to make me think, like, not believe that, like, something that I've got hardcore fucking medical science backing up, right? Right, here's a folder of like that I sent to the like chick I fucking loved who ended up being like, she just after I got put in the mental institute just wouldn't stop fucking talking to me, no fucking explanation. I would have understood if she said, look mate, like, I've got my own shit, you're too fucked up. But I think she's taken this to the fucking police. So this was the first fucking science that I found. Psychedelics and immunomodulation, novel approaches and therapeutic opportunities. You know, furthermore, novel approaches will be suggested feasible for the treatment of diseases with chronic inflammation, etiology and pathology, such as atherosclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, schizophrenia, depression and Alzheimer's disease. But then it also goes into like autoimmune function and autoimmune diseases. I forget everything. This particular
covers, and I don't have this one highlighted. The one I sent to her did have stuff highlighted, but you know, also one of the things with these is the plants have, in their traditional thing, the different plants have different alkaloid profiles, and often mixed provides a broader spectrum of, I guess, benefits. DMT emerges as a thus, as a target for future pharmacological investigations, DMT emerges as a potent and promising candidate in novel therapies for peripheral and CNS autoimmune diseases, such as multiple sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and cancer. Oh God. So yeah, it does, they do, and with my realignment of the musculoskeletal system, definitely massive roles in the regulation of inflammation. Now this is not only an anti-inflammatory action, it's regulation between states of inflammation for different purposes, depending on the healing required. Now, lots of massive complexity when you consider how do you measure the baseline health of a human being on all scales, and then how do you repeat that? You know, how do you get someone with exactly the same health fucking status to measure, you know, the effectiveness against different things, particularly when, you know, there's likely to be present, you know, you got something that poses as therapeutic potential in terms of, you know, cancerous and tumorous cells that might, you know, at a cellular level that are unable to be detected. So it's often, you know, doing microscopic actions that you are unable to find. Anyway, more of the articles that I sent. The so-called love of my fucking life who fucking... DMT, a biochemical Swiss Army knife in neuroinflammation and neuroprotection. Now this one does go, it's very succinct fucking article back, and yeah, I probably should, like, I can't summarise any of these are hardcore fucking medical science, but this does talk about okay, let's read. Thus, DMT as a natural endogenous agonist at both the SIG1R and 5-HTRs is hypothesized to be a unique, many-faceted pharmacological entity which has many important roles in the immunoregulatory processes of peripheral and brain tissues, as well as involved in the promotion and introduction of neurogeneration in the mammalian nervous system. Now that one, I think that is fucking, you know, certainly worth exploring when you've got, you know, I can't even mention this, like, I can't even suggest this to my friend, I don't know how, I don't know, like, if it, like, this needs to be looked at medically. I'd love her medical team to look at this if we could get the permits to fucking actually make it possible. You know, these are hardcore fucking, you know, psychedelic NN-dimethyltryptamine and 5-methoxy-NN-dimethyltryptamine modulate innate and adaptive inflammatory responses through the sigma-1 receptor of human monocyte-derived dendritic cells. Fuck, I can't even remember what this covers. This is a massive fucking article that recovers, that you know, goes into more detail about immune responses, inflammatory responses, emerges as a promising candidate for novel pharmacotherapies of chronic inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. Yes. These findings greatly expand the biological role of dimethyltryptamines, which may act not only as neuromodulators or psychedelics, but also important regulations of both innate and adaptive immunity. Thus, the DMT sigma-1 axis emerges as a promising candidate for novel pharmacotherapies of chronic inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. Like, and that's just like fucking the last couple of fucking sentences. Yeah. You know, I get because I didn't know, like, the reason that the medical system doesn't know about, now this is all, I don't know about all, but some of this research has come out of Hungary. My other main article was, what is it? Perspective examination of synthetic 5-MeO-NN-ditryptamine inhalation effects on salivatory IL-6, cortisol levels, effect and non-judgment. I cannot remember what the significance of that was. Objective about immune responses once again anyway. In conclusion, this prospective study in volunteers showed that the inhalation of vaporized 5-MeO-DMT induced rapid changes in inflammatory markers and produced improvements in effects of non-judgment that lasted for 7 days. Hence with my weekly fucking dosing fucking and traditional use it fits with of substances like ayahuasca. The present findings warrant further investigations into the anti-inflammatory and mental health effects of synthetic 5-MeO-DMT in clinical trials. I'm sure this probably has more. But between those 4 articles and a few more, those which were all accessed via, I'd have to look at, like basically the American Medical Health Library, they all support my theory. You know, the what do you call it? The I guess holistic nature of the adaptive immune responses facilitated by DMT all supports my theory that DMT is actually a nutrient, very specific nutrient, which is why it was considered sacred. This heals everything. This is essential. You know, and I get sick of it talked about as getting high. Oh, animals eat these to get high. Well, it's getting high, let's stigmatise it even more. No, they aren't. They eat it and then they heal. It is a regenerative type form of sustenance. I still, I'm unsure what happens if you eat these all the time, things like magic mushrooms, because, you know, a lot of people go, oh, you've got to not take them. You've got to not take them so that you can get the effects, those overwhelming effects. You know, if you look at the fact that people haven't, you know, if I'm right, and these are the forbidden fruit that was taken away for the purpose of social control, you know, and we haven't used certain brain functions, so then when you consume this nutrients or form of sustenance, that it, you know, I guess switches on or activates parts of your brain that are, you know, you're not used to. So it activates a broad range of sensory information, which is quite overwhelming. However, if you continue to consume these substances, you actually stabilise and aren't so overwhelmed, which is, you know, what people try to avoid when, oh, you've got to wait for a week so they work. Perhaps.
we're meant to eat them more regularly. Perhaps they are still working and we adjust so they're not so overwhelming so you can actually function on them. It's sort of like, I'm not 100% convinced either way. You know, it may be, they may be of greater value to eat once a week. You know, allow the system to drop and then give yourself a big surge of them so that they can flush and purge, you know, I guess any forms of malady across, you know, holistic being. However, it is also possible that, you know, we are able to consume these on a daily basis and them still operate effectively whilst not impairing our ability to function. There are many factors and considerations. It's a very oversimplified way when you consider particularly the possible ramifications of mixing other substances. Now, a lot of the time there are a lot of cases where, oh, these aren't for everyone. A certain amount of people, you know, was it these substances causing them to go crazy and stay crazy? You know, we've all heard of the person who spent the rest of their life in a psych ward. I've never known one personally. However, I have known people with problems that resulted them being put on psychiatric medications, but once you're on a lot of these psychiatric medications, the medications keep people, like these are heavy duty, some of them, I can't believe some of the drugs they put people on. And the science supporting a lot of them is weak at best. Particularly with psychiatric disorders. It's not, you know, even things like bipolar, I'm not comfortable with the science and the diagnosis processes. You know, if you look at, yes, we do have chemical, our bodies are full of chemical processes that are often I guess dependent on complex combinations of stimulus that, you know, mild stimuli is at the plural, you know, like whether it be, you know, what we, I don't even know what all the senses are, sight, taste, smell and touch and hearing, you know, like, and then ETAL, add fucking psychedelics. You know, there is, you know, these substances also in increasing the power and efficiency of the immune system, or in providing sustenance to the central nervous system, do appear to open up extrasensory capabilities and what appears to be access to some form of universal consciousness. These all do fit in, have many parallels with, you know, ideas surrounding, you know, concepts such as heaven and hell and alternate sort of, you know, and entities such as, you know, fitting the profiles of gods, which I've encountered on numerous occasions, and there are many of them. There is not just one. Some of them, like I've made reference to before, you know, I've encountered entities that I believe were infections. However, you know, I don't profess to understand. I don't know that we ever will. We certainly won't if we don't start opening up to studying this very seriously and getting the studies on it all on the one page. Now, the cat is out of the bag on the global scale. I have been watching psychedelic communities for a long time. Things are escalating, I feel, and you've got a lot of novices looking at it, a lot of sick people looking for relief, and I do believe we're reaching a stage where this needs to be seriously looked at. Also, one of the things I've been meaning to bring up at the EGAs, one of the questions is, when are we able to... How come no one's launched a class action against governments for prohibition? You know, we're all trying to get things all legalised or medicalised. We need to look at prohibition on a grand scale across all substances. And I guess hold the governments accountable for the damages that prohibition is you know, the harms prohibition is causing all members of society. This is not only on the economic, this is on health, the danger that it's putting people in, the loss of lives, you know, through things like overdoses, which, you know, you increase when someone doesn't know if they're getting fucking 5% or 95% pure. It increases, drastically increases the use. Like most of my opiate use involved morphine, because I started using heroin just before the heroin drought, which was caused by the the war on terror, Afghanistan, and all that shit, where basically like people talk about it as if it was fucking about oil, like when they used the cover of the weapons of mass destruction. Well, Afghanistan actually produced, it was over 80 or 90, I think it was 80% of the world's opium, and they cut production coincidentally throughout that period by 90%, which caused a global heroin drought. Of course, our fucking authorities claimed fucking responsibility, even though there was no significant fucking heroin seizures throughout that period of time. It was caused a global fucking opium fucking drought that lasted over a decade. You know, which I saw on the fucking street 20 fucking years ago, you know, throughout, and I mainly used morphine, so like every time I shot up 100 mils of morphine, it was 100 mils of morphine, you know. You know, however, like the point is, the medical industry, health professionals have been advocating for us to move away from prohibition, you know, with repeated health outcomes in terms of the health of the users, fucking dropping crime, their family, you know, health in terms of physical health, their family, ability to operate as members of family, social levels, ability to participate in economic roles such as work, you know, moving away from crime on all fucking scales, and these results have been repeated in every instance, with the majority of participants aiming for abstinence within 12 months. You know, this has been repeated repetitively, and it is just fucking ignored. Governments ignore it because the government's created the propaganda that has, you know, basically filled fear into the majority of populations. So, you know, then you have governments ignoring the advice of fucking experts, and we have the same problems when it comes to power industry, things like nuclear power. It's not very popular, even though our leading fucking energy experts all see nuclear power as our fucking silver bullet in a like basically reducing cutting out emissions and you know, associated with climate change and moving away from fossil fuels, even though I guess nuclear is sort of, I don't know if it's classed as a fossil fuel. It's certainly is a however, it is done correctly, and I actually was speaking to a air quality consultant who marks off all your major power companies, and helps them improve their emissions and stuff like that, who I do trust. And it was interesting to get my guts from what I've understood of nuclear energy, that it has been, you know, is our way out. I've felt that for a long time. However, it was interesting to get a proper, you know, 13-year PhD, proper qualified, experienced fucking opinion, who understands the parameters of the global markets and, you know, the different regulations and different standards across the globe. You know, however, none of this stuff will ever, unless we automate our systems and take, I guess, the corruption of humans, or not only corruption, but there's innocent fallacy as well. A lot of the world's problems have been created by people with good intentions who, you know, I guess are flawed in different ways. You know, all of which can be addressed by automating our systems. And, you know, we do need to look at reform of all of our legal systems in an efficient way so we can adapt to a more progressive society. I do believe we need well, reform of a lot of our system, all of our systems, from our education systems to our systems of social control, economic systems. The whole works needs to be looked at. We are at a time of rapid change, and, you know, yet we have a system that was, you know, very much structured to, you know, create, I guess, people who conform to go and, you know, undertake a lot of manual labour type roles in society, and which are no longer there, becoming, or we're in a position that, you know, can come obsolete, many of which are able to become obsolete, or at least drastically reduced, which is lucky, because we are going to need all hands on deck if we're going to look after our elderly, and in a humane fashion, and look after each other as we lose those elderly. You know, I see a lot of them, you know, as the health crisis increases, more and more people are going to be denied services, are going to be dumped in the care of families, and, you know, that is going to burn out the younger working age populations are going to receive a whole heap of additional pressures that are potentially catastrophic, you know. You know, if we want to reduce waste. Also, the other thing, with these substances that drastically increase the power and efficiency of the fucking immune system, or autoimmune functions, that act as antivirals, antibacterials and stuff like that, these all allow us to start moving. I totally disagree with the fucking world. Like, who? Like, how come we have to wrap a piece of meat in a piece of fucking plastic this fucking big? Or we need to ban wet markets. We need to go back to fucking wet markets. We fucking really do. And the only way we can do that is if people have access to two substances that do this. Now, we are able to farm these sustainably, you know, but we need to look at it serious, and we need to look at it fucking now. This needs immediate fucking attention, you know, and I'm putting together a fucking organisation, and this is a major component. You know, I believe, like, the energy, well, the air quality consultant that I saw the other day, I asked him, like, what do you believe is the most valuable thing in the world? And he said uranium. And I guess from his perspective it is, and I see that is definitely amongst one of the most valuable resources. And I said, well, what about a fucking substance that has that increases the power and efficiency of the immune system by about 10-fold, and fucking proposes a fucking, you know, basically a holistic fucking treatment for most things? And he's like, does such a thing exist? He sort of thought it sounded a bit too good to be true, and I'm like, I sent him through a copy of all of these articles and some of my ideas in my email that, you know, this needs to be signed over into, this shouldn't belong to anyone. You know, he's done years of university, how do I get this legitimised? You know, I was asking, I haven't heard back from him. There's a lot of reading in there, like this cunt is a proper fucking scientist. Like, he will read that and go, fuck, this little cunt might be fucking right. I didn't get back to, like, the cellular proliferation with my bone, right? So what I've fucking pretty sure I've done, because the bitches, like, the one who got away, who the nurse I fucking loved, like, ended up, like, not fucking talking to me again. Anyway, I couldn't, like, between these two women, like, the one that, whatever, like, fucking, I've got some fucking beef there, I'm pretty fucking, but anyway, from COVID, like, there was about, like, $700 worth of these fucking plants. And anyway, I fucking had this accident. Because what, I got my stimulus when the world was going to end. I bought like $1,000 worth of what I believe would treat the best way of surviving COVID, plus whatever else, blah blah blah. Anyway, I fucking dosed on this stuff, so I've fucking healed one bone crooked, I think I said, but so they're not lining up. But then I could feel them starting to grab like Velcro. I could fucking feel it at first, it was trying to fucking heal, and then I couldn't, you know, I tried to contact one, I'm fucking pissed off with her. I'm not going to tell that fucking story yet, I am fucking... basically, like what, so I broke up with the one I didn't love, or I don't care about, like, the one I wasn't right with, fucking, yeah, fair enough, the one who fucking, I loved, fucking, you know, I don't know, I don't know, I'm fucking so confused. Basically, like, yeah, that one stopped. So the point is, I couldn't get the fucking plants from these cunts anyway. No, can't just give a bloke his fucking stuff back. No, can't do that. We fucking don't. We just can't even tell him to fuck off. Like, this is how fucked in the head this system is. Anyway, like, what I've fucking done is I've fucking healed the middle section crooked, and I believe spiraled out of alignment. But then when they were trying to grab, by accelerating the cellular proliferation, like my theory here, and that everyone on the psychedelic forums, or you don't have to justify your drug use. Fuck off, idiots. This is fucking healing. It's not a fucking drug. And it did. I've set the wrong bone, and then I believe what I've done is fucking, say if you've got the broken bone segments, they were starting at first, I could feel them starting to fucking knit and grabbing like Velcro, and then it's just, I believe I've healed them. I believe I've healed the ends of these bones, so now they're not going to stick together. And the doctors can't understand why it's not healing, and they're like, this should be healing this. And I fully believe I've healed them. So now my bone's stuck in sort of basically two. So if that was a middle section, it's stuck, healed over, and they've healed, and now they just won't stick together. And I believe if they cut that open, I could have got them to operate it. I believe that what they will find is that they've healed over in a quite a unique manner. Now, I've done ayahuasca 9 times on top of this. I've actually used ayahuasca to get off of oxys. Now, how I got off the oxys, I was on oxycodone for 2.5 months or whatever. I've never been able to get off opiates without medical intervention in the past. I tried to stop taking them, couldn't stop taking them. Basically what I did was I fucking purged myself. I had ayahuasca the first night. Fucking that was pretty uncomfortable. I just felt it was an overwhelming experience. I felt myself purging. I had magic mushrooms the following day. Then I had another dose of ayahuasca that night. Then I also was fortunate enough to get hold of some kratom, which is an opiate blocker, like a type of coffee, ground leaves or whatever. Basically a powder, natural thing. You put it in, like basically a teaspoon in a cup of coffee, like 1 or 2 to 2.5 grams, 3 to 4 times a day. I had in a cup of coffee, took that for 7 days, then just run out, stopped taking it, got through opium withdrawal basically without withdrawing. I did get a rash under my arm from the kratom, and it still hasn't gone away. Like, yeah, there's side effects, but this actually is another substance, another plant medicine that actually does need to be seriously looked at with its therapeutic value for society. It actually held my pain very well as well. You know, I'm not going to pretend there isn't, you know, possible health effects. I mean, but where do we draw the line? The fucking reality is nuts kill people. Nuts have the potential to fucking kill people. Are we gonna fucking ban peanuts? So then we have like bootlegging black market fucking, or peanut black markets, and you know, people robbing each other to buy some fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts. You know? It's fucking crazy, and they do. Peanuts fucking have the potential to kill people. You know, a very small amount of people. Just like a lot of these other substances. I mean, kratom, I think, there's a lot of different types, and some may be more compatible with people than others, and I haven't gone into looked at that one extensively, and it's a different class of substance that, you know, I don't believe belongs in the same class as what I'm talking about with DMT and psilocybin and salvia and or divinorum or dorum or however the fuck you pronounce it. You know, LSD. You know, those type of substances, a bit different, but I certainly do believe it needs to be looked at in terms of its therapeutic value, and it's, you know, as a nutritional substance that, you know, it may have other ramifications that aren't necessarily compatible with other people, but I think it's more responsible to explore its benefits. You know, for someone with a history of addiction to be able to just come off of opiates and, you know, I'm fine, I am still in